But I will tell you, two of the most important things that I did in the first year that really helped me obviously understand the process of all of these deals, right? You got to.
Okay, Pat.
Right? You got to understand the process and get comfortable with it. But the second thing is people. So connecting with as many people as possible, even though I know it feels like it's a lot of work, like 3 30-minute calls a day, that seems like too much. But I have met my business partners, my colleagues, my friends, my lenders. I've lent to people, all in the community. Now, when I want really cheap money, I don't want to pay Kim 15%. I'm going to go to people outside the community, right? Because they'll take 10%, because 10% to them is really good. But the reality is everything you need is right here in the community if you spend enough time figuring out what it is that everybody has to offer. So the first year, as the title of the talk was, the first year really was of discovery, right? Figuring out what do I do, what don't I like to do. So I have to actually unravel some of those things, right? Because I'm like, I don't really like to do that. All my loans will come back. They're all secured. They are all taking a little longer, but as an investor, I recognize it's not a straight line. And then the other thing that just to tell you is that I think we get into deals, depending on what kind of deals that you're in. I think it's really important for all of us to remember that it's not a straight line. And so I will just tell you, every single deal, either that I am in or that I have done, whether it be a lending deal or partnership, it's not a straight line, right? Airbnb bookings don't happen really fast, or they do happen really fast, or a fence falls. And flip too fast, and you have to try and put it on the market during Thanksgiving. Like, that doesn't work. And then you got to make it through Christmas, and you're like, shit, well, finishing early didn't help us. So like, none of our deals have been a straight line, but that is part and parcel of the process. So first year was all about discovery, figuring out what I like, what I don't like, getting involved in as many deals as I possibly can, and learning about kind of, what the strengths are of, lots of people in the, that was really important. And then the second year, I'm in the second year now, becoming very clear. And Mergim, you said something that was really powerful, like focusing on one thing. I haven't focused on one thing yet, but you said something really powerful, which was, for me, it would not have worked for me to focus on one thing in the first year. I needed to taste and sample everything, but now I'm ready to focus on the 3 things. Only one of them is incredibly active, right? The rest of them are somewhat passive. But the clarity only came to me being involved in all of those other deals, right? And then I was talking with a couple of guys out here in the sunshine, because it was kind of cold. And I'm from Chicago, and I can't believe I'm saying it's cold. That's really weird. It's not that cold. And we were talking about, now I'm getting smarter about what kind of deals do I want to get into that have a low operational lift and a very high yield, right? Now I'm sort of tweaking the machine, right? I don't want to do a fix and flip unless it makes hundreds of thousands of dollars, because it's a lot of work, right? Right, Imelda? And so I don't really want to fix and flip unless it's a luxury fix and flip and it's worth hundreds of thousands. Then I might get involved in it. But, right, because I've done it. Now I know what that looks like. Or how do I create my conveyor belt of money? I tried to wholesale one property in my first year, and I was like, oh, good Lord, I will never do that again. And then Imelda came to me and said, land, what do you think about land? And I was like, I don't know, what do I think about land? And she was like, it's amazing. It's like this little black box, and we create a system, and we bring in all these little team members, and we just turn it on and it runs, and that's our conveyor belt of land. And I was like, wow, that sounds awesome. Got involved in it. We built a land business. And she's right? So you have to try all these things to sort of figure out what you love, right? And then figuring out what makes you if this is your goal, this may not be your goal, but this is my goal. What makes the most amount of money for the lowest possible lift while I can still take that tax advantage with my married filed jointly income, right? I've got to find kind of that trifecta, right? That's what I'm looking for. So now that I'm in year 2, I'm trying to focus on still making as many connections as I can because I've met so many amazing people, but I'm trying to avoid any of the things like, wow, that looks like fun. Like, no, I'm not touching that, right? I'm not touching it because I have the 3 things now that kind of fill my cup up and that are lower operational lift and that have really good return. But it's hard, right? Because there's so many wonderful opportunities to get involved. So really focusing on the 3 things that I really want to do and love to do and trying to shut those other things out is really what my goal is for year 2. So just to kind of wrap it up for you guys, if any of you are new or are struggling to find where you fit or have trouble getting into your first deal, here's what I would say. Connect with as many people as you possibly can because these are the people that are going to help you, and do a deal with you, they're going to lend to you, they're going to borrow from you. These are the people that will do all of those things with you. It just sometimes takes a little bit of time. And then the second thing is, don't be afraid. Like Miriam, you said it, like don't be afraid to jump in and to do something, whether it be to actually buy a sub 2, right? Or to be a lender. You can be a lender to a small degree and work and understand how that all works. Sometimes we get scared of pulling the trigger on our first deal, and then that will prevent you from doing your first deal, and then you'll kind of get like, you'll psych yourself out. Don't do that. And then really just, try to find 1 or 2 things. I don't suggest you do what I did, which is to do one of everything. I don't really think that's a good idea. But find the 1 or 2 things that you think is going to make you happy and that you will enjoy, and then just taste and sample. Right? There's so many different things that you can taste and sample, and you can taste and sample and go, well, I don't really like that. The good is if you buy a property subject to and you don't want it anymore, that's okay. Then you can sell it. Right? Like it's not the end. You're not going to lose $500,000. You might lose a little bit of money, right? But so know what your tolerance is also for, risk in terms of, how much money you do have or don't have. And if you do or don't have money, or have a small amount of money, be a lender. Just lend a very small amount of money out and to kind of see that whole process and get yourself in the game. There are lots of different ways that you can get yourself in the game. So I'm just going to wrap up by saying, I will be honest with you guys, it's been an amazing ride. The mind shift that has happened with me, right, being a lone wolf and being in commercial real estate for 20 years, like I didn't know people like you existed. Like Miriam said, like find your people, I forget what language you used, but like find like-minded people. Like I found my tribe.